It's okay, we're all nice people. Welcome. And a very big welcome. Thank you very much for taking the time and coming. And it's at this point I'm going to hand over the microphone to David and Erin from Destination Analysts, and they're going to run this session. So a big round of applause to these guys too.
Everyone smile, your biggest smile, so the group knows they don't have to be nervous. Yeah.
One of our members didn't realize he'd be in front of 200 people today, and he turned a different shade of when we told him. So be nice to him, okay? Yeah.
Okay. So our group here, I know it says in the schedule that these were going to be real-life travelers to San Francisco right now, but the hotel sent out the email, and unfortunately every guest here was one of you, so or a non-English speaking Japanese tourist. So, but what we have for you here, these are San Franciscans. They are avid travelers. These people travel all the time. They do a lot of travel planning, so it's been really interesting to learn from them, see how real users use the technology we've been discussing for the last 2 days. So we welcome you to tweet us questions you may have for the group while we're doing this, and we'll ask them after. If there's time, we'll also pass the mic around too if you want to know more about how these people are actually using things like Pinterest and Facebook. Our Twitter is @DA_research, so DA as in Destination Analysts _research. And let me introduce our panel now. So starting down here, we have Peter. Peter met Will Smith in Vietnam. He has to bring his own towels while traveling, even at a 5-star hotel. Peter's not going to use your towels, only his own. He always has to be plugged in, so he always has his laptop. His dream domestic trip is to rent a private beach in Hawaii and mountain bike Diamond Peak with Kanye and Kim. His dream international trip is to island hop all the islands in the Caribbean that start with Saint and jet ski with Megan Fox. And Peter is one of the 1/3 of Pinterest users who is a male. All right, next we have, welcome Peter. Next we have Ala. Ala has watched a body being burned in India and danced Zamba with a taxi driver on a mountain in Greece. She has to have her iPhone when traveling, and she only travels with a carry-on, even most recently on a 2-week European trip, only carry-on. She Lysols all her hotel rooms. This cleanliness trend thing on Seal. The most annoying person she's friends with on Facebook is a former hotel manager who's now an inspirational speaker. Or motivational speaker, yes. So her dream trip is Graceland domestically, and then internationally she'd love to do a cooking school in Tuscany or visit the Dead Sea in Israel. Then we have Kat. Kat, in the pre-TripAdvisor Facebook days, booked herself in a cabin 20 minutes outside of Venice instead of the hostel she thought she was getting in Venice. So she got her exercise making the drunken run every night to make the shuttle back. And it sounds like you made it every time, though, Kat, just in time. Okay. All right. If you friend Kat on Facebook, please don't wish your significant other happy anniversary or any other sort of loving epithet. She doesn't like that. She'll probably defriend you. She also can't stand those trite inspirational quotes. So avoid those. She can't leave for a trip without her iPhone, like Ala. And I love this because, contrary to the belief that only older people take Amtrak, Kat spent the summer taking she calls it a Hemi cross-country train trip on Amtrak. And she would like to eat her way through China. It's her next international trip. All right, and then finally Beth. She survived a tropical storm in Koh Samui. She doesn't drink Diet Coke here in the U.S., but she has to have one abroad, representing her country. And again, the cleanliness thing, she can't travel without hand wipes. And she thinks that people should keep their trip photos private through social networks. But she loves Pinterest, and she gets a lot of travel inspiration by looking at beautiful photos on Pinterest. So that's our panel.
So Aaron and I are going to take turns asking questions of the group, and I'll start today. If you guys have questions during the event, please tweet them up. And why don't you use the ETS 12 to do that? I'll be watching here, so if any cool questions comes up, we can ask. Hopefully we'll have a little time at the end, too. So I'd like to start with some general kind of get-to-know-you questions about travel. And could you guys tell me how many hours you think you typically would spend if you were traveling planning a vacation? You can just
I
jump in.
start the minute I get back from another vacation. I just start looking up things, asking people about next trip. Maybe I get an idea of being on my trip, talking to someone. Even if someone posts a restaurant online, I'm maybe I want to go there and explore some more. So I start as soon as I get back until this trip starts.
So if I had to push you for a number, how many hours would you travel plan typically?
A day?
No, for one trip.
Oh, for one. Probably for, I don't know,
Hundreds?
hundreds of hours,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Every day, maybe about 2-3 hours, I would look it up. Look things
Kat,
up.
how about you?
I would break it down into what? Is this on? Yeah?
Evidently
Okay.
not.
Okay. Oh, there we go.
There we are.
I would break it down into like what category I'm planning. So I definitely don't plan until I know where I'm going. I don't do kind of exploratory planning, but lodging only and like where to stay when I'm there, probably a good 10 to 15 hours. And then once that's like my biggest concern. And then once I get the lodging down, I specifically look into food, and that's probably the biggest thing that I research, and is at least another 15 hours, and then activities would be the third, and that's probably another 15 hours. I don't count flights as part of the research because that's kind of more obvious, and just like how much is it and where to go in and out.
How about you, Beth?
I have become a much more last-minute type of traveler, and I really book things at the spur of the moment, and really rely on friends and send out an email to friends that I know have traveled to the place that I'm going for recommendations. And I probably don't spend more than 5 hours planning a vacation before I leave, but then continue to plan while I'm traveling.
Okay, very good.
Using friends' recommendations, and then obviously research online, but really just getting recommendations from people that I know have traveled to those destinations.
Peter, how about you?
Yeah, for me, I think actually I'm continuously planning all the time. I actually plan vacations while I am on vacation. So I ask people that, what's the last place they've traveled on when I'm on vacation with them. I'm always actually planning, and it takes anywhere between, I think, I'm a planner, and I like itineraries. I would plan out bowel movements if I could. I like to have, but to the second, what I'm going to do every day. So I like to know, every second. I plan, what time I go to sleep, what time I wake up. It's a little bit of OCD, but I like it that way. But that being said, I like, actually, website-wise, I started using, Nile Guide a lot. And that's the great thing. You're able to pretty much plan out your entire day. You can put out, plans out into the distance. You can make wish list. The great thing is they have, like advisors that are experts in certain cities and certain, if they're food experts or, attraction experts, music experts that you can really go to. So if I had to give you a number, God, it's probably at least 10 hours for just like inception, and then I do plan everything from, plane rides or car rides. It depends on how long the trip is. Friends hate me because I want to find out when they're going to be free so I can plan. I tell them like, hey, you're ruining my plans because you're not telling me when you're going to be free. So it's things like that. I can't give you a specific number, but I would say all in all, maybe 50 hours.
Okay, very good.
Trip.
Well, it looks like we have 3 outliers here and 1 normal person. The average American, interestingly, spends 7.1 hours planning their travel. when they take a vacation. So you guys are on the outer edge, the fringe,
I'm also a planner, so
Yeah.
that makes sense.
which is great. So speaking of travel planning, I'd like you to answer one question. That is, if you could pick one word that best describes the travel planning process for you, what would it be and why? Let's start with Beth, and we'll go down. Just one word.
I guess I would say spontaneous, because I enjoy getting to the place that I'm traveling to and then kind of discovering it. And obviously they have certain things that I want to do while I'm there, but really am more spontaneous once I'm there in terms of seeing things and doing different activities.
Okay.
I'd say branching. When I do my research, I usually will learn about other things from what I've already read. So whether that's a restaurant that leads me to a neighborhood that leads me to like a shop that I want to go to or something like that, I really depend on like what I've already done to dictate what I'm going to learn about.
For me, it's exciting. I'm just excited to be going somewhere and enjoying my time and learning something new and meeting new people and about new culture. So I'm always excited about going places, and even if it's, for 2 days or for 2 weeks or a month, it's just very exciting for me.
Yeah, I guess for me, I think the word would be organized. My wife hates it that I always say, I think a guy says this all the time about, we got to make good time. And for me, it's always, how much can we pack in a trip? I want to see as many attractions and do as many activities as possible. So yeah, my itinerary is basically like 600 bullet points. So it's hard for me to sit and relax and enjoy, a trip versus like, okay, we're almost done here. What's the next thing on our list to do? So I like to speed through things a lot. So I guess compulsive and, OCD is probably another couple words I can use.
Okay.
So I'm a planner, but that plan sounds awful to me.
Yeah, you don't want a vacation with me.
Okay, guys, the group you're in front of today, most of them are in one way or another responsible for helping travelers plan their trips. They may have an objective to get you to do something, but that's what they do. Tell them, if you would, what is the most irritating thing about the process of planning a trip? From when you start to when you actually leave your home. What if anything, I don't want to plant a seed in your mind, but what bugs you? We'll start with Peter.
Again, going back to no one's ever on my schedule. So that's the annoying thing. I hate waiting. I hate being, put on hold on the phone and being, listening to, 80s music. So I really don't like I like immediacy. I want to know exactly how much it's going to cost. I don't want to ballpark that this is around the cost and this is around the time that you can have. I want to know exactly, these are times you can have, this is exactly what it's going to cost. I hate fees. I think I hate hidden costs. I think it's just, financial rape that you do that, where you're like, oh, hotel fees and, taxi fees and fees for combing your hair and fees for, waking up, so it's not, I don't like all these fees. You want your window to open in your car? Oh, that's a fee. So, I don't like the kind of hidden agenda that a lot of, I guess just businesses have. So that is a huge pet peeve for me.
Peter, before you go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and Peter's really funny, but that is really important. We've done a lot of studies on DMO websites where your hotels, or for some political reason, you're not showing pricing information. People like Peter, we see it all the time. It's really annoying. It just makes them want to take off. So I'm glad you brought that point up.
Upselling for me is a big no. Like if I'm looking at hotels and they're trying to upsell somehow, if there's a rollaway fee or whatever, that doesn't work for me. It's a little annoying right now. Yeah.
I would say two things. One, whenever you have to call to find information, so kind of like on the price thing, but if you can't find everything you need on the internet, it's very annoying. Especially like even if you work at a desk and you have access to a phone all day long, it's just annoying to like take that break in the middle of the day to call during business hours. The second thing is less about like hotel websites and that kind of thing, but when I'm doing my research to plan the trip, and I'm looking at guidebooks and I'm looking at guide websites or whatever, the lack of contextual information about something. So it's really frustrating to me when an activity is kind of described as being fun or exciting, or a restaurant is given a grade without kind of thinking about who goes there and what kind of people think it's really good. You know, is it older people that think it's really good who are, you know, business travelers, or is it young people who, you know, are on a budget? And I think that because of that, I tend to turn to more local newspapers and like weeklies and things like that to figure out stuff to do, because I'm more convinced that they know my demographic and I want to do what like LA Weekly is talking about versus the Foder's Guide to LA, something like that.
Two things, I guess. One is when you see online that a hotel rate is a certain amount, and then you go to book it, and it's clearly significantly higher than what's advertised, which I think is happens frequently. It seems like you're never able to get that deal that they're promoting. And then also being able to really value the reviews that you're reading online on like TripAdvisor or any other travel website. There's obviously many reviews, but I think that being able to really understand who's writing that review, because one person can obviously feel one way about a hotel and then another person can obviously feel the other. So really being able to understand what people are experiencing at those hotels.
We have a bunch, oh, go ahead.
One last quick one is the ability to reserve something without paying upfront or without any kind of fee. I mean, like, I think the concern is that people are going to reserve all over the place or go reserve crazy, and then you're not going to have accurate numbers. Honestly, it's more work for me to overbook and then have to unbook everything, but I would much more quickly book something if there was no fee attached to it and I just pay when I get there. And like it probably wouldn't affect overbooking and then canceling and then leaving you hanging. I just think I'd be more apt to do it in the first place.
Thank you guys for your questions. We have a number. I think we're going to get to a bunch of them later in our session, but I have good news for Peter. There appears to be a hot chick that wants to take you out for a beer. So hook up afterwards. But questions. Let's just do a lightning round, okay, of these two questions which were asked from the group. If I can find them here now. What would encourage you, what would make you stay one extra day in a destination? Just quickly, what comes to mind that might make you want to extend your stay in a destination?
A lower per nightly lodging rate. Hmm?
Go ahead, Beth.
I was going to say the same thing. If a hotel rate is much lower for an extra night, and I really love where I am, I would definitely stay an extra day.
Yeah, it would have to be if I love it so much and I like the hotel, and I would stay.
Yeah, it would really have to be not just financial for me, that you give me, 20% off my rate. That'd be fine, because again, you're throwing off my entire schedule. So you have to compensate me for that, because you just destroyed my whole circadian rhythm there. So I would like, I guess, a plan in the sense of what you're going to do for me next time if I plan to come back. Am I going to get some kind of discount further? Is there going to be, a special event that you could, comp me for? I kind of do love, what I see, that a lot of like celebrities, or a lot of what, obviously celebrities, but what I guess casino or spa resort hotels do in Vegas, or all these big kind of resorts where they comped you not just a hotel room, but they'll comp you, kind of concert tickets, or they'll comp you, your meal, or this or that. That would make me stay if you're willing to comp me these certain things that are, especially exclusive things that are not just kind of, oh, you're going to comp me like a free buffet, that's great. But if it's an exclusive kind of ticket, to an event that's, not really readily available, and something that's, again, relevant to me, I'm not going to go see Celine Dion, I know it's like a huge thing for a lot of people, but, and, I know our tickets are like hundreds of dollars, but if it's maybe a Lady Gaga concert, yeah, but, I'm not a Barbara Streisand concert, so, yeah.
All right, I'm going to hand the mic over to Aaron, and we're going to talk about mobile.
For mobile, we're going to first start off, we're going to do a quick thumbs up, thumbs down game. So we've been in our conference, we've been talking about mobile a lot. And a couple of you said you're not going anywhere without your phone, so we all know how important it is. Let's just do this thumbs up, thumbs down game, and then we'll talk more about how you're using mobile to plan your trips right now. But just out of curiosity, hold a thumbs up if this is something that you would do with your mobile device, okay? Book a hotel room. Okay. Kat, you're the only one that said no. Why not?
I like to have bigger screens when I'm actually booking something, and so, I like to have bigger screens when I'm actually paying for something. I mean, that's not true. I buy stuff on my phone all the time, but for something big like a hotel room where I kind of want to see what it looks like and where it is and find it on the map and do things like that, I need more screen space, so I would be on a computer.
Okay, how about picking a restaurant? Okay. Yeah, picking, okay.
Or like reserving, making reservations at a restaurant.
Okay, we'll start with just picking the restaurant you're gonna. Okay, all right. And how about making a reservation? Yeah. Okay. How about actually making a decision to visit somewhere? You could do that on your mobile device. Okay. Would you check out of a hotel? No, why not, Ala? Oh, no, 2 thumbs down.
Check out of the
Check
hotel?
out of a hotel.
'Cause I always like to have a copy, even though it's electronic. I just like to go and see what's on there.
Okay. What about you, Beth? Same distrust of the hotel?
I'm still old-fashioned like that. I have to go to the desk and check out.
Okay.
I sometimes don't even stop at the desk on my way out. I figure they'll figure it out, and if there's a charge, I'll get it later.
Yeah, we've been hearing that a lot. You've been hearing that a lot, that people aren't stopping by the desk at all to check out. We've been hearing that a lot, yeah.
Yes, I totally agree with her in the sense that if I can avoid, again, meeting a person that I don't really need to talk to, then it keeps me on schedule.
Okay, so can you all give us just an overview of how you're using mobile before leaving home, and then once you're in the destination? Because it's really the people are really interested in how people are, real life people doing this stuff. So how you're using your mobile device to plan your travel before you leave home, and then once you're in the place you're visiting.
I start doing research on the phone. I look through a lot of hotels. I go on I have apps, such as Kayak or other apps that show me.
And when are you doing, give us the visual. Where are you sitting? Or are you standing? You're in the shower? What's the visual?
I get through, at work I'm a planner, and I get a lot of emails from different destinations of things to do and, come visit, whatever, Alaska. And so I see something that I like, and then I start looking at it. And of course, because I travel or I'm on public transportation a lot, I just start looking at it. When I get home, if I'm doing something, I just will research it. And I'll try to book it if I can, right away, or if I'll call or use my computer at home, I could do that as well. But I do a lot of research on the phone. And then once we're on our way somewhere, then I will start looking for just at where I'm staying and the areas around and what else I could see and compare them to different things and different places that we want to visit. And we used to have a list of this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to do, but with experience in travel, I usually don't do more than one thing or plan more than one thing a day, just because I just want to have time to explore and do our own thing and not have to rush, and just enjoy it rather than keep on the agenda. And keep on
And real quick, have any of you ever downloaded an app specific to the place that you're visiting? Yeah. Can you show?
Public
Can you use
trans.
if you have? Can you show it so they could see how many of you have done it? All of you? All of you have downloaded a destination app?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
There's an app that was just recently in New York, and you can book all of your tours right through that. You just put in the city, and it gives you all the tours in New York, or if you're in Philadelphia, anywhere. And so I just clicked on the tour and went to see the Statue of Liberty, booked 4 tickets.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to contradict myself. I do a lot of, I guess, research and even booking on my phone. But I guess to what she brought up earlier, to touch upon that, there is, I guess, a benefit to actually talking to someone live in person or on the phone. You do get kind of those tips that you would not get from just an app or just a website. That being said, I try to use mostly, the app on my phone or on my laptop, but I do, once in a while, want to speak to maybe a concierge or someone that actually would give me kind of an inside tip on things that you kind of wouldn't, again, get from an app. But to answer your question, I love being able to get reservations on my phone and having, a barcode there where I can just scan that when I get somewhere versus having, again, to wait in line. It's great, again, obviously at the airport.
Can you elaborate on that? Like, visualize it for us so we know exactly what you're talking about when you say barcode.
A perfect example is getting a barcode for, obviously, booking a rental car. All the major ones like Avis and Hertz, you book it, you get your rental car agreement or confirmation on your phone. You just bring it to, I guess, whatever they call it, their fast lane or whatever, I guess, like gold service they have. And you speed past all, the riffraff, and and the poor people that don't know how to use an app, and that are waiting in line like the DMV, and you just, basically show your app, you scan it, you go pick your car, and you're out in, 5 minutes versus 20 or 30 minutes. So being able to do that, I know that, I think the new hotel that just opened up near the airport, I think Loft, I think they call it. A loft. They have an area where, again, you're able to just scan to book in that way versus, again, talking to, the front desk. So being able to bypass human interaction, I think, is a cool thing.
Mm-hmm. But it sounds like sometimes human interaction, it depends on what it is.
Yeah, sometimes if you have to kind of beg for free Wi-Fi, it's important to be able to speak with someone.
And Kat or Beth, can you
Yeah,
do this
so
quickly?
on my phone before I leave, I do probably a little bit of Facebooking to kind of get a sense of if people have been to where I'm going or not.
And how do you, what do you write, or how do you do that?
I would just write, I'm going here. Is anyone from there? Or I'm mostly concerned about people who are from there or who have spent a lot of time there, not just people who have visited there. So I would probably frame the question in more like who knows a lot about this town or city. So, or sometimes I might post a picture of where I'm going if I happen to have one around and do it that way because I've gotten more into posting photos on Facebook lately. And the heavy-duty research is definitely on the computer, but once I've kind of narrowed down the research, I put it on my phone in various ways. So through the Yelp app, I bookmark all the restaurants that I'm interested in. I've found that the Yelp maps are a lot easier to use than a custom Google map. I can't figure out how those work on the phone. Pinterest, I would pin things on my phone instead of pulling them up on a browser or something like that. It's a lot easier to find on Pinterest. Those are probably the ways I used the phone before, and I would mostly be using in transit or even in my house just to get it on the Yelp app because I want it to be on my phone so I have it with me.
Okay, how about you, Beth?
So before I travel, if I'm able to, definitely have my boarding pass on my phone because it's super easy and convenient. And then it depends if I'm traveling domestically or internationally. If I'm traveling internationally, I really don't use my phone at all unless there's Wi-Fi where I am, so in the hotel. But when I'm traveling domestically, I'll make reservations on OpenTable on my phone, look at Yelp or TripAdvisor. If I need a last-minute hotel, I'll book that on my phone as well. So it really depends where I'm traveling.
Okay. Are we okay on time? Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's talk. We'll talk about two last things. Let's do Facebook and then Pinterest. Everyone is pretty interested in Pinterest too. So can you just share with us briefly how you're using? Kat, you did a little bit. And any of you using Facebook in terms of travel planning? Actually, let's do a quick thumbs up. Okay, Mike, do you research your hotel on Facebook? Only Peter. Okay. Why not, ladies?
I don't really view Facebook as a tool for research besides sourcing from the people you know.
Okay. All right. And how about picking things to do? Do you research that on Facebook?
No.
Okay. What about you, Peter?
I do it. I think the thing is, with Facebook nowadays, I wouldn't consider myself a hardcore Facebook user, but I know it's a tool because it's basically where a lot of companies nowadays, a lot of services basically put out things that are only exclusive only on Facebook, that are only exclusive on Twitter. So I do use these tools because if you use your laptop, just going to their website or just using their app, you're kind of missing out on things that are, again, just only found on Facebook, on their Facebook page. So I've noticed that, and why not use as many resources as possible? That's why I use it. It's not necessarily that it's a faster or more efficient way to use it. It's just they have things that aren't available anywhere else.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do any of you look up, like if you already know you're going somewhere, do you look up their Facebook page?
I haven't before, but hearing what Peter says, I might start to. Yeah.
Spread the word.
I guess some only when they only have a Facebook. Like some smaller, newer restaurants maybe don't have websites and they just have Facebooks. And in that situation, I would find it.
Okay.
I actually don't use Facebook at all, so I'm a minority.
You have to caveat that, right?
What's that?
This is temporary.
Yeah, I haven't been on Facebook for like a year, but even I never really used it for research. I know that, like, for the company that I've worked for, it's a huge tool, but I just don't find Facebook to be appealing to me for travel research. I think that there's many other ways, especially in terms of reviews and finding out things to do in the city that you're traveling to other than Facebook.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to Pinterest, and I'm sure the audience might want to ask you guys some questions too. So you are all Pinterest users. You know, they're all Pinterest users. So can you tell us how you use Pinterest in terms of travel planning? If you have experience using it for travel planning, or how in terms of travel you're using it?
I don't think I would necessarily use it for planning. I think I definitely use it more in terms of inspiration. And if someone posts something really beautiful, then I'm inspired by it, then I'm like, oh, I want to go there, and then I'll go elsewhere to research the city or the place. But I think that it's really interesting for just getting inspired.
How many of you have a board attributed to like places that you want to go? How about you, Peter? I know you're fairly new. Do you have a travel board? Oh, not yet. Okay. Maybe. Okay. All right, Kat, why don't you tell us how you use Pinterest?
Yeah, I mostly use Pinterest as a place to collect things. So all sorts of things, not just travel, recipes, craft ideas that I want to do, stuff like that. That's mostly what I've been using it for. But all places to go, restaurants to go, things to do. I definitely could, I haven't used it like this yet, but I definitely could see creating my New York Pinterest board and pinning everything there from what I find online. That is probably how I'll do it next time. And so you can have everything in one spot, and having the photos is important for me.
I like using it from art and to learn about new artists. There's great new artists and old artists that people pin. And what I do is I take a picture of the actual Pinterest page, and then I save it onto my favorites. And then if I'm traveling somewhere, if there's a gallery, if I could find an artist that way, I love using that. And also a lot of recipes. There's a lot of great drinks recipes that are on there. And my daughter pins a lot of fashion on there that she loves and hairstyles. And she's always back and forth, take a look at this, can I have this dress? You know, so I just, very inspirational and home ideas I love, but I use a lot of it for art and some for travel.
And with the drinks, if that drink recipe came from, I don't know, Austin, Texas.
It's like self-made.
You were in Austin,
people,
would you go to the
sangrias
restaurant?
or, you know, yeah, or, you know, somewhere like in San Francisco, they posted, you know, Irish coffee, which I already knew.
Yeah.
But, yeah, great ideas.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, for me, I never used Pinterest as a a travel destination tool. It was basically, again, to just post. I'm into import cars, so I did a little import car racing when I was younger, so I post a lot of photos of race cars and of race car events and things like that. But I never used it as, first of all, I was, again, a little embarrassed that you guys, kind of outed me using Pinterest, and I'm like, it's...
No, we heard that a third of the users are now male, so...
Yeah, that's not a proud thing to have, to show. So I also used to watch The Hills too, if you used to know like that. So it's
You're digging your own grave.
Yeah, but the thing is, I know that mostly women use it a lot. I have a lot of friends, they use it, that are women that basically use it to like plan their entire wedding, even before they have.
That becomes overwhelming on Facebook.
Yeah. So
those get unfriended.
Yeah, but it's as a travel tool. I've never used that. I've posted photos after I've come back, but never as I'm posting this because I want to go to Bali. I'm posting pictures of Bali. It's not. I know people use it essentially as a big wish list, as a bunch of photos of things they want to do and places they want to go to, but I've never seen it as a benefit to me of posting things that way. Again, I'd rather just have a list than just pictures.
Okay. Yeah. Anything else you guys want to say about Pinterest and travel inspiration and travel planning?
I was just going to draw a contrast between the way I use Facebook and the way I use Pinterest. Facebook is much more, for me, like an outward-facing tool. So like when I went on this train trip across the country, I would post pictures pretty much at every stop and kind of my thoughts about a restaurant or something like that. And I did not do that on Pinterest. Pinterest was where I collected everything before the trip and kind of had it as as your pin board, as something that you're going to reference. But I didn't post things on Pinterest as a way of saying like, hey, look where I'm going. That was happening on Facebook.
Okay. Are there any questions from the audience?
Yeah. One question came in wanting to know about your general inspiration. Where do you get inspiration for travel? We've talked a bit about it, but where do you get the greatest inspiration to select your destinations?
I get it from friends, family. I get it on Facebook. I read magazines. A lot of magazines are great. I don't have time right now, but I used to go to lectures about places. Sometimes schools have them, or your local clubs or whatever. But I love hearing people talk about places they've been to and their experiences, and kind of gets me going and excited. And I used to work for a cruise line for 10 years. And at every port that we used to go to, we had a speaker that would talk about that particular port. And not only what to do there, but the artists that came from there, the local chefs and so forth. So it kind of got me going, and that stayed with me throughout and on the internet.
I guess I really get inspired by friends and family and pictures that I see, and it really depends on the kind of vacation that I'm looking for. If it's a big city or a beach vacation or something adventurous, then I'll just start asking friends and family or hear about their stories, and that's really where I get inspired by.
I'm inspired by books. I'm inspired by the imagery of what I think will be there when I get there. So, like Joshua Tree, for example, is a place that I have only seen pictures of and is probably the next place that I'll go, mostly because I like the desert landscape. And like I know I respond well to that imagery-wise. I think I'm also influenced by music and just like the hearing something in a song and being like, that's beautiful. I think I would like to do something like that. Like, for example, the train trip was in part inspired by a Magnetic Field song called Born on a Train. And it's nothing, I mean, it's just about, you know, it's like this rambling song that kind of sounds like you're on a train, and that was where it came from. I don't really get inspiration from other people who I know. And in fact, sometimes when people invite me on trips, it's like a negative. Like, it's like, no, I don't think I'm gonna go on that trip. So for me, it's a lot of like individual inspiration and then making it come to fruition.
You all have to hire songwriters now, make a song about your town.
Yeah, it's you know, I guess you're going to be underwhelmed of what, you know, my inspiration is. Everybody here has like really highbrow stuff, like reading books and listening to like music. You know, I guess, born into the MTV, you know, generation where, you know, I got my inspiration from pop culture, from movies. You know, I think the first time I really wanted to go on vacations when I watched that movie Triple X with Vin Diesel, and he vacationed in Bali. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. And he went skiing in like the Alps in Switzerland. You know, I was like, I want to do that. So I got my inspiration from, again, pop culture, from movies. P. Diddy is, you know, he's in, you know, Nice, and he has a, you know, jacuzzi filled with Cristal. You know, that's what I want to do. You know, it's things like that. It's these kind of, you know, kind of stupid, you know, kind of MTV Cribs, you know, dreams that I have where, yeah, I'll be, you know, again, jet skiing with Kanye and, you know, Megan Fox. You know, that's the inspiration I have is from kind of really pop culture and from, you know, movies, TV. It's not highbrow. I'm not reading Hemingway and wanting to, you know, can tuna. It's nothing like that. I want to be a migrant farm worker. It's really, I just want to see cool stuff and cool people and, you know, do cool things. It's not really like I want to learn, you know, a deeper meaning of myself or anything.
Peter had a great quote a minute ago when he said, being able to bypass human interaction is a cool thing. It kind of summed up everything I've heard over the years about millennials. So you could be their guru if you want.
DMV was like that.
Yeah. So we've had a number of questions about a topic that's probably of interest to many people out here. I'd like to kind of switch gears a bit and say, do you guys know what a Convention and Visitors Bureau specializes in? What do they do? Or give me your feelings for what they're all about.
Conventions and visitors? That's what they specialize in?
No, what's their job?
Organizing conventions and trying to get visitors to come.
Okay. What do you think, Pat? Yeah.
I mean, that sounds about right. Maybe something about organizing that information for people who come for convention. I mean, like I've gone to a variety of neurology conventions through work, and there was always like packets and emails from people who were trying to help you figure out what hotel to go to and what restaurants to go to while you were there. I did not find them helpful.
Why not?
I mean, we were going to play, I mean, number one, it was an American Academy of Neurologists, and so I'm not a neurologist, and I'm not a doctor yet, but I was there with a bunch of like average age 55-year-old doctors, and so that wasn't, like, it was the context thing. Like, I knew that it was geared at doctors who were going to spend like $200 on dinner, and that wasn't me.
I think it's a place where tourists can go to get information about anything in the area, such as like museums, restaurants, any sites, and there are people that are able to give them information, maps, and
Have you guys used oh, go ahead, Ala.
I was going to say it's a one-stop shop for the destination that you're going to be going to and getting all the information from, and they help you source any hotels or any meeting space that you would need, sleeping rooms, restaurants, dine-arounds, whatever you want to do. It should be a one-stop shop.
Tell me about your experience using them to plan a trip, if you have any experience doing it. And I'd be really interested in if you've sought them out or if you just happened onto their content, how that relationship went.
For personal or?
Yeah, personal.
Oh, for personal.
For travel.
I always go, let's say if I'm traveling to Philadelphia, I will go on their website for CVB or whatever represents Philadelphia, let's say, for example, and I will look at all the hotels that are in the area, the recommendations they make, any restaurants that they could recommend. Sometimes I'll email them and ask them, with your experience, what's the best, location to stay in, how far is it from the airport, and so forth. So I use them quite often.
I think sometimes they have recommendations that can be a little bit touristy, so I don't necessarily go to them for information, but I think it's definitely a good place to go for things other than like restaurants or hotels. For me personally.
Okay, so like what?
Like the location of something or maps or like I was in the summer in Nantucket for work, and I went to them actually to give information for something that we were doing for work, so they could promote it to tourists that were on the island. So I think it's a good place for people to come for tourist information, but it's not necessarily the information that you necessarily are looking for.
I thought I didn't use them, but I think I have. And I think what they're useful for example, when I was planning a trip to Hawaii, I wanted just really broad information on like, what is the difference between these islands? Like, what can I expect from, like, what's the thing on each island? And, to research that individually for each island would have taken much longer. But I found this, like, Hawaii tourism or something website that gave a 2-paragraph overview on each island. And that was helpful. And then from there, I narrowed it down.
Yeah, I would agree with, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Catherine. In the sense that I think convention and visitors bureaus are generally run by government agencies, and they're not like private entities. They're not private companies, so they're essentially nonprofit. And what I get from them is exactly, I guess, what Catherine brought up, in the sense it's very high level, kind of very dry and boring information. It's very kind of something you'd get like from a government brochure. It's not like, a site, because they're not necessarily trying to sell anything. They're trying to get you to come and visit them. But I think they're trying to obviously tread that line of not being commercial, and so they really have to pick and choose their words. So it sounds like you're reading, IKEA language. It's, very it's legalese almost. It's very specific and very kind of dry and boring, but it gives you information. It's essentially like going to a government site. If I was, had questions about my tax IRS, I would go to irs.org, I guess. Yeah. It's like that kind of information. It's not going to say, oh, this is a very good place to visit because it's this. It's just saying, oh, they're not going to use words like charming or quaint. They're going to use like, this is a good place for family. It's going to be very kind of non-threatening and very specific, but it's good for information like, oh, what time buildings are going to be open, what time buildings are going to be closed, addresses and phone numbers. So kind of background information they're great for, because they're vetted. It's a kind of a government entity, so I trust their information. It's not going to give me kind of misinformation.
Okay. Beth, what do you have?
Yeah, and I don't think that they necessarily have the new and exciting things that are going on to give us information. Like, they're not going to know like the new best restaurant, I think, that, or the best area for the new shops. I think that they give out more of the things that the area is known for, rather than things that you can find elsewhere that's new and happening.
Where do you go for new and happening? Where do you think you would go for new and happening?
I guess recommendations from people that have been to the city, or Yelp, searching online for new restaurants, events, museums. I definitely wouldn't go to the bureau for that kind of information.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's because, again, it's a government agency. It's not going to kind of say this is a happening place to go. It's not a hip place to go kind of thing. It's places that I would go is, again, that's kind of less governed. Places like Yelp, where things are not as filtered. You have more kind of user feedback, and definitely Facebook. Again, even Facebook, the pages that are from, I guess, certain places or attractions, they have people that are recommending or commenting on it, and that's what I kind of look for more than kind of the administrators' comments, more the users' comments. But Yelp is a big place, and then Facebook is probably the other place I use.
I go to the blogs. I go to Grub Street, Eater for the various cities that I'm thinking about if they have one. Like, I go to the equivalent of Mission, the blog here in the Mission. Like, I try and find local neighborhood blogs to see what's going on. And I also use Chowhound extensively for food research.
I just ask friends on Facebook if they know someone local in the area, and go to the places that locals go to for food and visiting.
Yeah. I'm going to describe this audience to you a bit. They want you to trust them. A lot of them are CVB's, Convention and Visitors Bureau, and they want you to trust the content that they put out there. Do you feel like if you went to a CVB website, a Convention and Visitors Bureau website, that it would be a source that you would trust? Or would there be some inherent bias that would lead you to say, no, I don't believe these guys?
I trust the CVBs. I've had a good experience. There's several that, are kind of iffy depending on where you are, but I do use them quite often. The only thing is that the CVBs only represent the businesses that are joined with the CVB. So it doesn't necessarily mean that, to me, that they're recommending places, if I ask about a place that they are not part of that CVB, then they might not know anything about it, but I'm
just
good.
Follow up on that. Does it help you at all, though, to sort through the millions of options if they have a limited membership?
Yeah, it gives me ideas. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to use that specific, property or that specific restaurant or tours, but it gives me certain ideas. And a lot of times, if I see something that I like, I'll go with it anyway, because, why waste more time when, it's there.
Well, I think, as I said earlier, I do trust them for certain, kinds of information, certain forms of information. I definitely trust, but again, it really depends on certain cities. And I think I was discussing with Aaron on that Facebook page that I had for Albuquerque. I don't know if anybody here is from Albuquerque, but their Facebook page looks like, or their, I guess, CVB page looks like an ad for Viagra, where it's hot air ballooning and golf courses and, state fairs. It just, it just tells me I don't want to be there because it's a retirement city. It's
Might not be their target.
Yeah, it tells me I'm not, their target audience. I'm not their demographic. But the point is, again, they're not obviously being very broad. They sound like they're just doing one specific thing, but I trust them in the sense that they're a government agency that's going to give me very kind of filtered information, and it's not very up to date. That's the problem. Some things have been posted, 2 months ago, and that's the problem when I don't really trust the site. Is if they're not administering it on a daily basis. They're not giving me current updates. I just checked their website, their Facebook page this morning, and the last post they had was 2 days ago. And it's the weekend, so I'm assuming that there's going to be events happening this weekend. You need to kind of keep me up to date of things happening on a daily basis, especially if it's a weekend coming up. And if you're not updating on a daily basis, I'm kind of not going to trust you as much because I can see that you're just lax in keeping up about information.
Peter, it looks like you have a job offer now through Twitter.
Kat, did you want to?
So.
I would say trust isn't I would trust them for sure. I think a lot of it, though, has to do with what they literally look like, and if it looks like an awful about.com website, which is the worst website design in the world, FYI, or if it looks like a website that actually is specific to this city, it was made with this city or space in mind, it doesn't look like an advertisement. You know, we're so used to seeing websites. If it looks like a website that always sells me things, I am going to be less inclined to trust it than if it just looks like a website that's about information. I am less extreme than Peter when it comes to the need for new information. Like, I mean, I think Facebook is one thing, but like if a website was last updated 2 months ago, that would be fine for me. It's like, all right. And it's like, yeah, I won't be there for 2 months anyway. It doesn't matter. So the websites, I don't feel like need to have daily administration. But Facebook is a different story.
And I don't think it's something that I don't trust. I just, I guess it depends on what my interests are in the place that I'm at. So if I'm wanting to find out about the best museums or attractions that are of my interest, I definitely would trust them.
All right, I think, guys, we are minutes from running out of time here. I'd like to thank Beth, Kat, Ala, and Peter. You guys are awesome. Thanks for sharing your Friday afternoon. And